What's going on, everyone? Hope you're doing well. All right, part 7 here. Flowers for Algernon. And something is going to happen that we've been talking about for a while. And probably the saddest part of the short story so far. As an English teacher, there's some funny stuff in there because punctuation and all that. But unfortunately, Charlie is going, well, no spoilers, no spoilers. But I think it still like begs the question, should doctors, scientists be trying to mess around with the human brain? There's going to be more talk of an IQ test. And remember, we've talked about 2022. We know that IQ tests really only test 2, maybe 3 of the intelligences that we talked about. So saying anybody's IQ is a certain level, it's just discounting all the other things that they may be good at. Maybe they're really high with the interpersonal, or maybe they're know a lot about nature. So IQ tests need to be taken with a grain of salt. But either way, I mean, Charlie is definitely performing below probably most intelligences. But I mean, when it comes to interpersonal, not intra is knowing yourself. I mean, he excels. Like we'll see. He's going to interact with more people. That's going to be kind of the sad part. But he does a really good job at interacting with people. He's a really nice guy. All right, so let's get into this. Prepare yourself for if you feel bad for, I don't know, just I think Mr. Bim was showing Forrest Gump, maybe parts of Forrest Gump yesterday in class, maybe not. But if we've talked about that movie before, Forrest Gump, poor guy, in some ways his intelligence, like when it comes to books, his intelligence is probably pretty low, but you saw the other things that he could do in that movie that was like pretty impressive. I don't know. So let's talk about Charlie here, though. I like Charlie. I hope you do. You remember yesterday we ended here, and he used a bunch of commas. I think maybe up higher or something like that, but he used them all wrong. Yeah, so we're on April 17th now, and he knows. Excuse me. He knows right off the bat. I used the comma wrong. It's punctuation. Oh, he forgot. He forgot the apostrophe. Maybe he's probably going to learn all this stuff pretty soon, but he's still making some mistakes. Miss Kinnian told me to look up long words in the dictionary to learn to spell them. I said, what's the difference if you can read it anyway? She said it's part of your education. So now I'll look up all the words I'm not sure how to spell. It takes a long time to write that way, but I think I'm remembering. I only have to look up once after that I get it right. I'm not sure if he wrote that wrong or I read it wrong, but sounds like he only has to look it up once and he remembers it. Anyway, that's how come I got the word punctuation right. It's that way in the dictionary. Miss Kinnian says a period is punctuation too, and there's lots of other marks to learn. I told her I thought all the periods had to have tails on them, but she said no. You got to mix them up. She showed me. Now, this is going to be really hard to read because he uses like pretty much everything when it comes to punctuation here. You got to mix them up. She showed me how to mix them up. And now I can mix up all kinds of punctuation in my writing. There are lots of rules to learn, but I'm getting them in my head. One thing I like about Miss Kinnian, that's the way it goes in a business letter. If I ever go into business, oh yeah, he uses that thing, the colon. Not too often used, but in between time, when the hour and the minute. And then at one time, it was business letters. That's how you started a business letter. Now, I think you can use a comma. Rules are changing. She always gives me a reason when I ask. She is a genius. I wish I could be smart like her. Punctuation is fun. So obviously he uses some of that wrong. But the next day he learns, whoa. Now, in this one, excuse me. In this, I think this one's kind of important. As I read it, is there anything that sticks out to you? We'll pause after, have a discussion. But I think this is, I don't know, a big turning point in the story. We're going to have two of them actually in today's reading, but I think this one is a big one. What a dope I am. I didn't even understand what she was talking about. I read the grammar book last night and it explains the whole thing. Then I saw it the same way as Miss Kenyon was trying to tell me. Excuse me, but I didn't get it. I got up in the middle of the night and the whole thing straightened out in my mind. Miss Kenyon said that the TV in my sleep helped out. TV working in my sleep helped out. She said I reached a plateau. That's like the flat top of a hill. After I figured out how to punctuation worked, I read over all my old progress reports from the beginning. Boy, did I have crazy spelling and punctuation. I told Miss Kenyon I had to go over the pages and fix all the mistakes. She said, no, Charlie, Dr. Namor wants them just as they are. That's why he lets you keep them after they were photo stated. Now, when I read this earlier, I'm like, what is that? I guess it's like photocopied. But remember, it's a long time ago. I'm not going to go into too much, back in my day kind of thing. But when I was in kindergarten, everything was like Xeroxed. That's what the teachers called it. And it was purple ink and it kind of got on your hands. That's how old I am. So photo stated must have been even before Xeroxed. I don't know, but it sounds like photocopying, making a copy, whatever. All right. That made me feel good. After the lesson, I went down and played with Algernon. We don't race anymore. All right. So what do you think? Let me get rid of that. Is anything important happening in that? I'll just leave it like that. Okay. And what I just read. So to me, hopefully somebody said this, it seems like almost Charlie has like a photographic memory now. All he had to do was read a grammar book and the things just kind of went into place in his mind. So it does seem like the operation is working. And this keeps reminding me, I keep forgetting the name. I know somebody in here knows this, but Elon Musk's, the chip, right, that supposedly is being developed. I'm sure it's a long ways away, but you just get this chip inserted into your brain and you know everything. Yeah, I think books could be written on that, like how things could go badly if that happens. And it's just going to be, who has the money to pay for it. The rich are going to keep getting richer. It's kind of scary, but that's the kind of stuff I think we're talking about. Even though Flowers for Algernon was written like 50 years ago, 65, I think it was. Some of that stuff is still playing out today. Like if there was a magic pill that people could take, automatically be smarter. I don't know. There's some stuff going on in the news too. I don't want to get too deep into it, but this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, anybody's heard of him with FTX and crypto and how he was a billionaire at a really young age, but he was taking all these drugs, over-the-counter drugs, and I don't know. Things are going badly for him now, but for a while, people thought, whoa, this is a new kind of investor. This guy knows something that everybody else doesn't know. But turns out a lot of messed up stuff going on with him, and those supplements he was taking, probably illegal. Anyway, all right, everybody's trying to get an edge here. Let's go down to April 20th. Also, another thing there, we don't race anymore. Flowers for Algernon, the mouse, Algernon. Maybe it just shows that Charlie's is way smarter than the mouse now. April 20th. This is where it gets sad. I feel sick inside. Not sick like for a doctor, but inside my chest, it feels empty. Like getting punched and heartburn at the same time. I wasn't going to write about it, but I guess I got to because it's important. Today was the first time I ever stayed home from work. Last night, Joe Karp and Frank Riley invited me to a party. There were lots of girls and some men from the factory. I remembered how sick I got last time I drank too much. So I told Joe I didn't want anything to drink. He gave me a plain Coke instead. It tasted funny, but I thought it was just bad taste. Oh, can't see that. Bad taste in my mouth. We had fun, a lot of fun for a while. Joe said I should dance with Ellen, and she would teach me the steps. I fell a few times. I couldn't understand why, because no one else was dancing besides Ellen and me. And all the time I was tripping because somebody's foot was sticking out. Then when I got up, And I saw the look on Joe's face, and it gave me a funny feeling in my stomach. He's a scream, one of the girls said. Everybody was laughing. Frank said, I ain't laughed so much since we sent him off for the newspaper that night at Muggsy's and ditched him. Look at him. His face is red. He's blushing. Charlie's blushing. Hey, Ellen, what'd you do to Charlie? I never saw him act like that before. I didn't know what to do or where to turn. Everybody was looking at me and laughing, and I felt naked. I wanted to hide myself. I ran out into the street and threw up. Then I walked home. It's a funny thing. I never knew that Joe and Frank and the others liked to have me around all the time to make fun of me. Now I know what it means when they say to pull a Charlie Gordon. I'm ashamed. All right, so maybe we should pause there. I mean, what's going on? Hit pause. All right, I'm sorry. I think I ran out of candy. Yeah, should have stopped at the store last night. I'm sure there were some amazing answers. But, obviously it's been kind of hinted. There was a little bit of foreshadowing that Charlie might have like self-realization, like he might realize himself that, he does have, or did have, doesn't have anymore, did have some differences from everybody else. But now he knows, now he feels ashamed. And it seems like his Coke was probably, we might say, spiked or whatever. So he thought he was just drinking regular Coke. Who knows? Maybe they drugged him. Maybe they put some kind of alcohol in there or whatever. But obviously they did something to his drink. So unfortunately, Charlie realizes, why they like to have him around. And now he's ashamed. All right, one more, and then we'll put a pin in it. We will stop. Is this a long one? Yeah. I do want to get to this, though, because this is talking about IQ. And even in 1965, like, I know when I was younger in the 1980s, IQ really meant something, and people valued it. Teachers, like you, if you were shown to have a little bit of a gifted and talented side, like you might be given an IQ test. I don't think that happens anymore because we realize, like, well, IQ isn't all it's cracked up to be. And then Charlie's going to say something very similar here is like, it doesn't measure everything. And that's in 1965. So the author was on to something. Charlie was on to something. All right, here we go. Quickly here. Progress report 11, April 21st. She still didn't go into the factory. I told Miss Flynn, my landlady, to call and tell Miss Donegan I was sick. Miss Flynn looked at me very funny lately, like she's scared of me. And it seems like Charlie might not have a phone. Remember, 1960s. I think it's a good thing about finding out how everybody laughs at me. I thought about it a lot. It's because I'm so dumb, and I don't even know when I'm doing something dumb. People think it's funny when a dumb person can't do things the same way they can. Anyway, now I know I'm getting smarter every day. I know punctuation, and I can spell good. You should say I can spell well, but whatever. I like to look up all the hard words in the dictionary, and I remember them. I'm reading a lot now. Miss Kinnian says I read very fast. Sometimes I even understand what I'm reading about, and it stays in my mind. And there are times when I can close my eyes and think of a page, and it all comes back like a picture. Yeah, so it does sound like Charlie has a photographic memory. I have met one person. He was an exchange student from Denmark. When I was in high school, he had a photographic memory. It was crazy. He now lives in London, and he makes lots of money, but definitely the smartest person I've ever met. And I kept saying, like, you have a photographic memory, right? Like, I don't know about that. But he could see something on a page and just remember it. Peter Herman is his name, lives in London now, was a Danish guy, probably still is a Danish guy, but he lives in London making lots of money. Besides history, geography, and arithmetic, it's like, I don't think anybody calls it that anymore, but math. Ms. Kinnian said I should start to learn a few foreign languages. Dr. Strauss gave me some more tapes to play while I sleep. I still don't understand how that conscious and unconscious mind works, but Dr. Strauss says not to worry yet. He asked me to promise that when I start learning college subjects next week, I wouldn't read any books on psychology. That is until he gives me permission. So maybe there's something the doctors are trying to hide. I feel a lot better today, but I guess I'm still a little angry that all the time people were laughing and making fun of me because I wasn't so smart. When I become intelligent, like Dr. Strauss says, with 3 times my IQ of 68, then maybe I'll be like everyone else and maybe people will like me and be friendly. I'm not sure what an IQ is. Dr. Namor says it was something that measured how intelligent you were, like a scale in a drugstore weighs pounds. But Dr. Strauss had a big argument with him and said an IQ didn't weigh intelligence at all. He said an IQ showed how much intelligence you could get, like the numbers on the outside of a measuring cup. You still had to fill the cup up with stuff. Then when I asked Bert, who gives me my intelligence tests and works with Algernon, he said both of them were wrong. Only I had to promise not to tell them he said so. Bert says that the IQ measures a lot of things, including some of the things you learned already, and it really isn't any good at all. Still, I don't know what IQ is, except that mine is going to be over 200 soon. I didn't want to say anything, but I don't know I don't see how, if they don't know what it is or where it is, I don't see how they know how much of it you got. Dr. Namor says I have to take a Rorschach test tomorrow. I wonder what that is. All right, so Charlie is going to be taking this test. I wonder. We'll end right there. But does anybody remember? It's been a while, but we have talked about that Rorschach test a couple times. All right, we'll end there. Anybody know what that is? Then after, a couple things due on Friday, halfway through Flowers of Algernon, 10 points. Real quick check. Also, checked quiz, study guide. A lot of those are coming in already. If you've taken that quiz and you want to know your score, let me know. All right, adios, amigo.